Hi everyone, it's Jamie from Rocket Guest Posting here, and in this video we're going to show you how to use one of our free SEO tools called Expired Domain Finder. Expired Domain Finder is part of our free suite of SEO tools designed to help you grow your online business. Before we explain what Expired Domain Finder is, how to use it and why you might want to use it, please be sure to check out our free 7-day trial of Rocket Guest Posting, which is the internet's largest database of websites that accept guest posters along with all their key SEO metrics and contact details. Expired Domain Finder is a desktop application that allows you to crawl websites looking for expired domains that they're linking to. You can provide it with a list of websites to crawl for expired domains, a set of keywords where it will pull related websites from Bing, or a list of seed websites where it will just endlessly crawl the internet looking for expired domains. For those of you that don't know, using an expired domain with existing backlinks is a great way to start a new website and get decent rankings straight away. Also, if you practice Black Hat SEO, you can also use expired domains to build a private blog network, but please be aware of the risk of Google penalties with doing that. So let's explore the application and then we'll see it in action. So you can see here in the application there's three main types of search for expired domains. First we've got crawl website list, then we've got crawl from search query, then we've got endless crawl. So to begin with, we'll use the crawl from list option. So crawl from list, we simply enter a list of aligned separated websites here, and when we click start, the application will crawl these websites in parallel, checking all of the domains that they're linking to see if they're expired and available to purchase. You can also link in a free or paid Moz API key in the settings, and it will bring back the DA and PA for each domain that it finds that's available for purchase. So before we see it in action doing a crawl on a website list, we'll just go through some of the general crawl settings first. Here we have delay between each request to website, so if you think a website might block you crawling them because you're sending requests too fast, you can bump that up to 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you think is going to work for that particular website. Next we have concurrent websites to crawl, so that's how many websites will crawl in parallel. On my machine, my machine is quite powerful, so I'm happy to crawl 300 websites in parallel. If you have a super amazingly fast server, you can bump that up more, or if you're running it on a cheap old laptop, you might want to turn that down to 100. Concurrent crawl threads per website, so that's how many connections we've got to each website when we're downloading its content. So I'd generally leave that at one connection, so that's just one connection at a time. So we're downloading one page at a time from each website. And here we have the number of errors that we get when crawling a website before we decide to stop crawling that website. So if we're crawling a website too fast, they might block our IP address, and then after 30 failed attempts, we'll just give up on that website so we don't waste resources trying to crawl it. And I generally leave the setting on where we limit the number of pages to crawl per website. At the moment that's set to 100,000, and we just leave that on in case our crawler ends up crawling a website with a very poor structure where it may end up in an infinite loop trying to crawl pages that the website tells our application exist, but really it's just a very poor structure and they don't actually exist, and it will cause the application to run in a loop. So I'd always have that ticked. And finally, the last two options: show URI being crawled. So because we crawl so many websites so quickly, it adds resource usage to the application to show the URL being crawled. You might want to turn that off if you want the application to run slightly faster, but some people might leave that on because they want to see exactly which page on what website is currently being crawled. And finally, write results into a text file. So if you're planning on leaving the application running for days at a time, I would turn that on just in case you have a power cut, or in the unlikely event the application crashes before you manage to export the results that it's found. When you've got that ticked on, it just means that every time you find an expired domain, it will write it into the results file. So let's see a cruel website list search in action here. So I'm going to go ahead and enter just some popular websites here. Now, it is worth noting that if you enter incorrect web addresses in this list, the application will tell you and you'll have to fish those out. So we've gone through our settings, we've entered our list of websites we want to crawl. We'll hit start, and then we'll come back in just a couple of minutes and we'll see what we found. Typically you'd leave this application running for 24 hours or longer. Okay, so we've come back a couple of minutes later, and you can see the application has already found one expired domain, and because we've got the Moz API key saved in the settings, we can get the DA and PA straight away. And you can see we're crawling thousands of web pages per minute, and we've checked over 5,000, nearly 6,000 domains to see if they're available, and we just found another expired domain. So hopefully you can see if you were to leave this running for a day or two, you'd end up with a good haul of expired domains to sort through and see which ones would, really get your SEO off to a great start. So next up, we're going to crawl from a set of search queries. So here we have the crawl from search query tab, and you can see that here you enter the search terms that you want to pull websites back from Bing for. So for example, if we have League of Legends there, the program will go off to Bing, search for League of Legends, pull back all the websites, and then start crawling those websites to see if it can find expired domains. Now, something I've found, sometimes you'll search for something like, say, League of Legends, the game, and you'll get a website such as CNN.com or something come back because they've put together an article on League of Legends. Then if you're looking for really niche domains, that probably isn't very helpful to go and crawl CNN. So a feature we've built in here is that every time a website comes back from Bing for one of the search terms in here, you can check the homepage metadata to see if it contains any one of the words in this box here. So in our example, we'd search for League of Legends, and then if CNN came back because they wrote an article on League of Legends, if the homepage didn't have the word League, then we'd skip that domain. Okay, so we're going to start a search, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and see what we found. So it's been just a minute and we've already found 2 expired domains, now 3, and we'll just go through some of these stats really quickly. So we've got queries left to search 3, that's because we haven't finished with any of the queries in here yet. Pages crawled, fairly self-explanatory. Websites crawled, that's how many websites we've completely crawled so far, which is 38. Websites to crawl, that's 0 because we don't know how many websites we've got left to crawl yet, because we don't know how many queries are going to come back from the search terms here. External domains found, so out of the pages we've crawled so far, we've found 2,700 domains. Of those 2,700, 3 are expired and available to purchase. We've had one website, looks like it's blocked us, and again that's normally when there's about 30 failed attempts at downloading a page. pages crawled per minute. That's fairly self-explanatory, and this is how many queries we've fired off to Bing so far and how many have been blocked. So we've only fired off one query to Bing so far, and we're currently crawling all the results of that query, and that one query that we've fired so far, that hasn't been blocked, so we've got 0 out of 1 queries blocked. And this is how many websites we're concurrently crawling, and that's 73, and then we've got how long this search has been running for. So hopefully you can see how this option can be used to find quite niche, relevant, expired domains. And again, typically you'd leave this application running for a day or even for days, and instead of 3 expired domains, you'd have hundreds. So next, we're going to show the endless crawl option. So the endless crawl option is basically just the setting where you enter a bunch of seed websites, and it will then crawl those websites, and then the outbound links on those websites, it will feed into the application, and it will then crawl those websites, and then the websites it finds on those websites, it will crawl those websites, and so on and so on and so on. So it basically just never stops crawling websites for expired domains. So in this instance, I've just chucked in a bunch of large popular websites. You don't need that many really, but just a domain that has lots of outbound links is best. So let's click start and then come back in a couple of minutes and see what we found. So we've come back a few minutes later, and you can see now we've got a few expired domains, and we'll just go through some of the additional stats that are present in this type of search. So the only thing that's really different in the stats here is registrar requests and registrar errors. So whenever we find an external domain on a web page we're crawling, first we check if it has an A record entry, which if a domain is alive but down, it will have an A record entry. If it does, we leave it. If it doesn't have an A record entry, then the chances are there's a good chance it has expired. So then we send off a request to the GoDaddy API, and that is what the stat is here, registrar requests. So that's basically how many requests we were sending to the GoDaddy API. If you see a lot of registrar errors here, then that means that possibly we've sent too many requests and they've blocked our API, or the API is changed and the software needs updating. If you see 1 or 2, don't worry too much about it, because that could just be your internet connection or a problem their end. But if you see hundreds of errors, then there's possibly a problem. So that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video and you've seen how you can use this software to easily find expired domains that you can build a new website on and get out of the Google sandbox quicker and get ranking quicker, or you can use them as a black hat private blog network. So that's it, and please be sure to check out Rocket Guest Posting, which is the internet's largest database of websites that accept guest posters, along with all their key SEO metrics and contact details. Thanks for watching, guys.